All right, we're going to go ahead and get this thing going. I hope a bunch of people probably kind of trickle in here as we go along, but let's get started. Zach has a lot to cover today. I want to start off by thanking everybody for coming. My name is Jason Hardebeck. I'm an inside account manager here at Barry-Wehmiller. I'm going to start off by taking you guys through a couple minutes just of introduction to who we are as a company for those of you not familiar with us. We are the IT and engineering consulting firm of Barry-Wehmiller. A company that has been in business for almost 130 years. Has almost nearly $2 billion in revenue and nearly 7,000 members team-wide. We're a platinum level PCC partner. We support the full line of products, training, and services around all PCC's product lines. We have training centers located throughout the U.S., St. Louis, Kansas City, Dallas, Philadelphia, Florida. We also offer customized training, mentoring, on-site training. So if any training needs you need, you can just reach out to us. All of our trainers have a ton of real-life experience and have been using PCC products for over 10 years. We also have a great Windchill implementation team. They've done over 100 successful migrations, many of which are global, multi-site, complicated workflows, integrations to ERP systems. So if there's anything with regards to that you guys ever need, you can reach out to us. We're also a little bit different than most of our partners in that we are a complete product development partner. We just don't focus on PTC's product group. We also have an enterprise consulting group and an engineering services group. So if you ever see anything with regards to those areas that you need help in, just reach out to us. Pretty much any kind of initiative around product development we can help you with. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Zach now and kind of let him get into the presentation of what you guys came to see.
Well, great. Thanks, Jason. So my name is Zach Yazel. I'm going to go ahead and start a PowerPoint presentation here real quick and talk a little bit about electrical routed systems today with Creo tools and how it can help you and your company. For those of you on the line, I realized before I start this demonstration that the industry is broad. You could be in automotive, defense, all kinds of different cross-sections of the market. We realized that, so we tried to select a demo that was just simple and easy for this one. But keep in mind, we will be doing some other more targeted, specific ones in the future. So let's just talk about what we're going to go over. Basically, the routed systems overview, which just talks a little bit about Creo schematics, both piping and cabling, how it comes into play in both, can support both of those types of tools. A little bit about the harness process, the piping process. We're going to do a quick electrical demonstration, talk a little bit about Creo schematics, some of the slick new interface it has and how easy it is to pick up and use for any general electrical engineer. And then we like to wrap up with some questions and answers and really give us some feedback on what you'd like to see in the future and kind of go from there. All right, so let's start at the beginning. Routed systems, the design overview. What is the harness process with the new tools? Well, PTC has a tool called Creo Schematics, which is a standalone multidiscipline diagramming tool. It supports block, circuit, wiring, P&IDs for piping, and it has complete export connectivity via XML to Pro cabling. And it's really seamless to the 3D cable design process. So we have basically 3 steps. We have the schematic work, we have the 3D routing piece, which is using Pro cabling, and finally we have the harness manufacturing piece, which enables us to flatten out the harness and then place that on a detailed view using the detail package in Creo. So for piping, it's kind of the same workflow in that we have Creo schematics on the front side where we establish the P&ID, or a process instrumentation diagram, where we really lay out the cabling, or I'm sorry, the piping design flow. You can show general equipment, reducers, fittings, all kinds of things that you need for the pipe design. It could be very general or it could be very specific. There's various levels of granularity in both electrical and the piping schematic design. It depends on what your company's requirements are. We then send that out to piping using, again, an XML file that can turn on spec-driven piping on the other side. And I've been setting up spec-driven piping for quite a few years now, and I will tell you that it is amazing when I see guys on the job have actually been using regular piping, and then they see spec-driven piping and how fast and efficient it is and how well you can control your pipeline. And the fitting insertion is really slick. And so the schematic to the piping tools is kind of a newer thing, and I think that a lot of companies need to discover this a little bit better. Finally, the outputs are manufacturing solutions. We have Isogen for standard piping views, and also we have a lot of the tools right inside Creo Detail that we have full bill of material. We can get pipe length cuts, all that complete bill of material of the pipeline itself. So what is the impact of cabling and the harness design from a business initiative point of view? Well, a lot of companies take the cabling design and kind of give it a back seat, and it's a low priority on as far as the large scheme of things with design. But a lot of companies are bleeding out in this area. They might use AutoCAD for the schematic tool, and they're kind of going out and measuring with the string on the automotive or on your whatever widget you're working on, and they're trying to get the real cable lengths, and it's time intensive, and there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of scrap and a lot of waste. But what Creo cabling allows us to do is route our cables in 3D and get the footprint up front. It reduces our time to market. It reduces the total product cost. The improved productivity is way better in quality. The improved information exchange from electrical and mechanical breaks down those barriers between the electrical department and the mechanical department. Now they're working together to define in the mechanical world with the rest of the tools, sheet metal, plastics, and all those things that are right up there that are important, and you're establishing a real footprint. We can get center of gravity, total weight, bill of material, cut lengths, aerospace. It's great. You can really study those harnesses before they go to manufacturing. And it increases product customization. So what industries are these tools used across? It's very broad, and on the line today we did a poll to find out what industry, generally speaking, you're in. Defense, aerospace, automotive. Are you in the packaging and automation type of industry? There's a lot of different places that these tools can be routed, and these tools are being used across all of these industries today.
Hey, Zach?
Yes?
I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll real quick and let attendees go ahead and do the answer real quick.
Let's go take a poll real quick to see those of you on the line, if you're using aerospace or defense or automotive, and those are big three, but then again, there's a lot of other industry out there on the line today, whether you're doing chillers or floor scrubbers or whatever it is that you're designing. There's a lot of kind of different products for that. Now, Jason, can I go ahead and move along still, or?
Yeah, go ahead and close it real quick and we'll show the results. And then
Great. So today we're going to do a very easy demonstration of a diagram to a 3D to flatten to detail, and it's just 4 steps. And we're going to keep it real easy. Keep in mind that these diagrams in the real world can be a lot more complex, can be a lot even easier than what we're going to show you, but it's the concept that we want to kind of expose first. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and start by doing an overview of Creo Schematics itself and the various diagrams that it shows. Now today specifically we're not going to be showing P&IDs and the piping stuff, but we're going to do that on a different demo because we felt that was a little better targeted for those people. But let's start off with the basics, a block diagram. Creo Schematics provides a top-down design process where we have small blocks that can inherit properties from larger blocks that are over it. Simply put, it's parametric to this, and you can actually build your entire top-level workflow system for your overall machine, whether it's a truck engine or whatever it is you're working on. And it's a nice way to flowchart, if you will, parametrically what's going on at the top level. The next type of diagram that they support is circuit diagrams. This is really great because you can actually break up elements of your item and move them around to different areas. Here I can say select co-shape, and I can have various different objects that are associated with this with this relay right here, and it highlights it in various areas. So it breaks up an object, allowing you to have the same object and broken up into various areas during your circuit design process. There's a lot more under the hood with circuit, but since we have limited time, we're going to go kind of give you a brief overview. We have wiring diagrams, which are widely popular. We have basically connectors, wires, cables, everything you need, including attributes running behind the scenes to define the part numbers, the wire gauge, all the information, including the signal names that are coming directly from the pins. So we'll talk more about that in the next part of the demo here in a minute. So the interface for Creo Schematics is very, very easy to use. You see the new ribbon workflow that's been very popular with the Creo release. This interface showed up first in Wildfire 5 detailing, and then after that Creo 1.2 showed up here. And I tell you, it really cuts that time down to ramp on this software, CAD software program, and Schematics is no different. So the basics is behind here we have a Design Explorer. This allows us to manage and create our sheets within this, just like Windows Explorer. It's very easy. So the workflow is very important when you're working, that it's easy to use, easy to find, where's my stuff, that when you're on the job. So there's a catalog that can include a central catalog of all the users that they need for all of the objects that they'll use on a regular basis. This catalog will vary from company to company and can be highly customized. I've done a lot of customization in this area and in the data running behind these shapes. All of it is built on requirements for downstream, interacting with cabling, interacting with your detail information downstream, and it really depends on what your requirements are for that company. A lot of companies are just doing connectors and wires, and mainly what that is a variable connector and a good set of data running behind that. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. There's other types of things where you can go to, like I said, the central catalog. You can set up a central catalog on a share drive where all of the users are looking at the same catalog called the central catalog. And this has become a lot more popular, and it works very well in interaction with multiple users in a company. You can create shapes and submit those shapes to the central catalog and share that with the rest of the workers. In addition to having all of these functions, there's also interaction directly into Windchill, where I can actually say pack or unpack directly into your Windchill system. I don't have it set up here, but what it is it interacts with Windchill. It packs your design up, and you can check that in and version it just like any other part or option. So it is fully integrated into all of the PDM systems that PTC offers. All right, so what we're going to do next is I'm going to open up another design here. And I'm going to go about kind of finishing a diagram that I've kind of half started here to kind of simulate a day in the life of a designer. Now, keep in mind that this doesn't have to be just like this. There's a lot of different flavors out there of diagramming. This is just one very small part of what we could do. But this will kind of show you a little bit about how schematics work and what's going on behind the scenes. So each object that we have here, whether they're wires, cables, connectors, or blocks, what we call block shapes, has attributes running behind them called properties. And in these properties, we can collect complete sets of properties called data sets. And these data sets actually look at an entire database of objects. And you can build this stuff in Excel or other tools. We offer a tool you can build it in, you can buy, or there's other ones on the market. But what you can do is go through and select the objects from a pre-known database. Usually it's based on manufacturing information. And you can apply that information however you want to the objects that you have. Part of setting up Creo Schematics is really sitting down and defining what are your requirements. You have connectors, you have cables, you have wires. Let's get that data built so that it's done for the company, and when we roll the tool out, the users on the job have that information ready to go at their fingertips with the shapes that they're familiar with. You could be coming over from different CAD programs and you want to have that interaction of Pro Cabling. All you have to do is have this set up correctly, and you're on your way. So I'm going to go up to the Catalog Explorer, and I'm going to retrieve a connector. I'm going to go to the Groups area and get myself what's called a variable connector. The variable connector is very powerful in that before I even place it, I can say mirror vertical, mirror, rotate, do whatever you want. In addition, you can say, well, I want this to have 16 pins, and it automatically expands to have 16 pins for you as you place it. Get that right there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and exit tool and show you some cool things that we can do with variable connectors. I can right-click and say reorder members, and I can actually take a bunch of these pins and reorder them if I want to. In addition, I can spread them out. I can take one and spread it out to be double the spacing. Okay. So you can spread pins out. You can reorder them. In addition to being able to do that, I can right-click. I can actually copy, and they have a special function where I can have the exact same connector in two places. And this is called doing a cutaway. I can go into reorder members and literally hide a bunch of pins that I don't want to see. All right, over here, and then I can set the cutaway shape for that connector. And then I can do vice versa on this one. So you can actually break up your connector into various areas. A lot of times aerospace shows their connector spread out over multiple sheets. And so this enables us to use the connector in a way that you're using certain pins on one sheet, certain pins on the other, and they're usually signal grouped, or it depends on how you run it. Every company's different. All right, so that's a little bit about doing some connectors. Let me go undo back a little bit here. So I just have that there. Now let's talk about placing some wires and cables. Well, routing a wire is pretty simple. You just pick a port and go to another port. Okay. Now, when I move the connector around, it actually moves with it on the grid, and the wires will straighten out as you're working. All right. There's another way to do it. I actually have ability to pick multiple wires at the same time and have the system actually auto route between them. Like so. So then what you could do is, it's easy, really easy in Creo Schematics to just simply go in and say, I want to create a cable, and I want to create a 3-conductor cable, and it converts that into a cable. Not only does it convert it, but it also renames your auto wire naming scheme on the fly. So you can then basically go into Properties, apply a data set, and select from your database of cables everything that you need to select on that cable, which we're going to be using in Pro Cabling here in just a little while, right? So let's say I have a connector that's already here, and I want to, instead of going up to retrieve it, I can simply just copy, and then I can just paste it as a brand new connector over here. I'm going to go into reorder members again and basically remove everything except 4 pins. Reorder members. Whoops, I still have some over here, which I need to remove. All right. I'm going to move that down here. And then I can apply a different data set to that particular one. So in this case, the number of pins is 4. And I want this one to be the 805 that I have here. And apply that. So I have a connector that now is the right part number. Now, instead of drawing a bunch of wires back and forth, I can actually go up and retrieve a 4-conductor cable directly from the database and simply route it from one connector to another, and it's pretty easy. Easily done. So also, when you have these connectors, you notice this little button here. I can actually rotate it if I wanted to. I can move it around. Everything is right-click right there. So transformation, you can magnify, vertical, flip it, rotate it. It's all pretty easy. All right. I'm going to go ahead and apply a data set to that cable. and say OK. All right, finally, I'm going to go to my blocks area and select possibly a fuse that I want to place right here. And I'm going to route to that and then route up here to that. Maybe I'll just wire up a few more wires here. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 of those wires and apply a data set. And this is looking at a database of all the wires that I want. So I'll narrow it down by wire gauge, and I'll say, well, I want those to be 18, and then you can also narrow it down by color. I want them to be green, and there they are. Go ahead and say apply. And then I can leave this interface open and pick 2 more and kind of do the same thing. Wire gauge, those are 18, but those are going to be yellow, and say OK. And finally, we'll do these, and then we're going to get ready to go to the Pro E side. For this one, I'm going to do red, and I'm going to pick 22 gauge red for those. All right. Now that we've done our diagramming work, there is a lot more information we can do, but that does have a function built in where with these connectors now, we can actually read in PCB data and get our signal names written directly in. Now, I don't have the wires set up today for the signal name attributes to receive from connector, but I will show you. It's right here. It's under File, Import, and there is an Import PCB Net Data. Basically, what it does is it goes in and if you have listed in that information the connector names correctly and the pin names, they'll match them and put inside of the terminal pin, right in this information right here, will be an attribute called signal_name, and you can actually connect to that with the wire that's connected. And that will greatly speed up your information. A lot of companies, these connectors and their signal names are driven off of the PC boards that they're plugged into. So we want to make sure we capture that so we can get that from the PC board and bring that into this, and then thus carrying on through the process. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and export this information to an XML file. I'm going to send it out to Pro Cabling, and I'm going to just do the current sheet here. I'm going to validate it to make sure there's no, it says I have some information that is not filled out correctly. So let's go ahead and click that. And it says that I need a data set applied for that connector. And I said, well, that's good, I caught that, so I better go ahead and fill that information out. What I need to do is apply a data set to this. All right, now that that's done, let's go ahead and export our information one more time. And it says down here, no invalid export objects found, which means that this is good to go for Pro Cabling. We're ready to route. All right, so I'm going to go select a file. I'm going to go out to RSD. I'm going to actually select this harness XML and override what's already there just to save time and say OK. And I'm going to override it with the current setup. I say yes. And that information is sent out to a share drive. So the next part is I'm going to go into cabling. And I'm going to go ahead and route some of the information. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go into applications cabling, of course. I'm going to say import, and I'm going to go browse for that RS Designer file that I just sent out. All right. Now that I brought that in, I'm going to do a connector. The designation would be the next part that we do. Actually, when the logic comes in, it matches up the logical data with the information in my model. So at first, there could be some multiple duplicates. So right here, we have a bunch of stuff that that says here's the information coming over. This is the reference designator for the schematic, and here's my ref model. All we have to do is simply go through and select the ones if they're duplicates, and as we apply, it will designate out the rest for us. All right. Next, I'm going to pick these 2 right here, and then apply it, and they're all auto-matched. And one of the ways you can tell is you can turn on your little reference designator item right here, and you can see clearly on the screen that they're designated, ready to go. So once they're designated, ready to go, I'm going to talk about two ways to route. With the new Creo schematics, Creo cabling, they have a lot of really easy to use cabling. I think in the past, Pro cabling kind of got a bad rap in a way because it was sometimes frustrating on some levels, but with Creo cabling now, it's easier than ever to use, and they really got it right. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to route cables. I'm going to select. Let's just kind of do one wire real quick, just to kind of show you what we can do. Now it's going to highlight the path from A to B, and it says this is what I want to do, and I say, okay, that sounds good. Now once it's routed, though, then what I can do is simply go in and insert location. So I can say, well, I want their one to be here, and I like that. I'm going to do another one right here. I like that, and I'm going to do another one right here, and another one there. So what you're doing is you're, first of all, routing from A to B, and then you're telling it what you want after the fact. And finally, and say OK. So I've kind of routed around. It's not the best, but you get the idea. You can go and you can move these around, drag them, and you can have other wires follow those exact same things along the path, following that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that wire and delete it. Real quick in the tree here as well. And we're going to try something different this time. This time we're going to route a little bit faster, and there's something called networks that are very, very popular inside of the cabling process. Oh yeah, one more thing. I had to see express options. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and resume some features I have, so we can kind of take a look at this. And what I've resumed here is my network that is in that routed for the purpose of cabling. What it is it's a highway system that your wires can automatically run along. Right? Now, in the new Creo cabling, you can actually route a wire, and when you start a wire, you can pause the tool and route network ahead of yourself, and then when you go back into the tool again, it will automatically route the wires while you're routing your right in the middle. It's kind of like if you're creating a feature in Pro E, let's say I go into creating an extrusion, and then I pause the tool and go create a datum plane, and then you resume and move on. It's kind of that same kind of method. All right, so that's one really nice thing that we're probably going to show a little bit better on a tips and trick maybe webinar later on. I'm going to go ahead and say route, and I just simply search inside my logic data that came over with the information from the schematic, and I'm going to say OK, and it gives me a pre-highlight. I say yep, apply that, and I go ahead and cancel and say yes. So we have our cables automatically, and what they do is they run along they basically run along the network that I have predefined. So when you say route with any wire, there is an option to route simple or route on an automated network, which is really, really nice. Now I'm looking at this thing here, and I'm thinking that cable looks awfully big to me. That looks a little bit fat to me. And in addition, these were supposed to be orange 18 gauge, not red. So I think I'm going to go back and make an adjustment to the diagram, and I'm going to send that back over. So let's go back to the diagram real quick. I'm going to come in here. Right now those are red. I'm going to change those to 18 orange. No, 16 orange actually. All right. And in addition, the cable that looks really, really big was running to which one? Let's turn on my designators. It was going to con 2. All right. So let's go back to this, which would be up here. Or is it over here? Let's see. Where is my con 2? Yeah, it's this one here. So this cable right here looks pretty fat to me, and it's saying that it is 14 gray. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. to a different cable. And I'm going to do a 18 gauge instead. All right, now that I've made that change, I'm going to export that information back over to cable. Now let's go bring that information in and update that in real time. All right, so I'm going to click import. And I'm just going to go retrieve that file one more time. Okay, we're going to do a logical ref update, as well as probably create that new spool that came over in that file. All right, and I'm just going to do a regenerate. Let's do an update one more time. And my information updates automatically. The cables changed gauge. The cables are also now smaller. And there's a lot of ways to check if there's been a rewire or a change of that. And there's actually a 3-day class I teach that walks you right through it. There's also a 3-day schematics class. You can truncate that by focusing on just wiring diagrams if you wanted to. There's all kinds of different ways to learn. The next thing I'm going to do is a bundle. I'm going to bundle this up a long path, all right? Now, bundling material is oftentimes used in aerospace. It's also used in defense quite a bit, automotive, where they have to weather tight certain cables and connectors. And it's really a nice way to keep your harness kind of organized as well. So I'm going to call this bundle 1. I'm going to do round. I'm going to use a predefined bundle I have here called bundle. I'm going to do it a long path. I'm going to select one end, and you just bundle up a long path, and it selects everything in between, and you're able to easily bundle your information. Now, this bundling material can contain real part numbers for material reporting purposes, real cut lengths. You can have mass properties for weight. So, for instance, I've worked in the aerospace industry where we weigh these harnesses, and it does actually matter if we bundle it or not bundle it. So we make sure that the mass properties and all of that. And I'm going to make 2 more quick bundles. This one is going to be what's called a branch bundle. And I'm going to do one more. All right. So that looks like, oh, I just think I want to actually just do one more. Branch. All right, good. Now we're all set. I'm going to go ahead and save that. The next phase is a manufacturing flat harness. I'm going to call this harn_MFG. And it asks me for the harness that I want to flatten. I'm going to pick that harness that I'm working on right now. And I'm going to call the output file harn_flat. And so what you see in one window is kind of a basically the harness itself, and on the right is where you're going to see your flat segments show up. Some of you may have seen these in the past, but it doesn't hurt to run through it. So flatten, I'm going to say layout, and pick a primary location and say auto fan. We're going to go ahead and auto fan that out on that nail board view. Now, let's pick here. So you can also choose or not choose to assemble all of your connectors to the flat if you want. So I could say assemble all, and let's go ahead and clean that up just a little bit. I'm going to say modify move segment. We're just going to move that down just to kind of clean this up. I'm not going to take too much time during this demonstration to doll it up just perfect, but I'll just kind of get it generally where it is. Let's go to centerline view here. Okay. Now you can do breakouts of various dimensions. So I could say that's 45. And And turn off my planes here. All right. Like I said, I don't want to take too much time during this demonstration for this stuff, but just to kind of get it kind of in the zone. All right. Move this here, move this here. Okay. So close enough for right now. We can always come back in and doll it up, do modifications later. But the important thing is that we have a flat version of our harness and we're ready to go. So next part of the journey is going to be the drawing. So we're going to do a quick drawing here. I'm going to do it empty with a format. I'm just going to use a C size. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and insert a general view. The great thing about detail is that you can use it to so many different areas and into such a distant way you can do it. So you can show the harness installed on your unit. You can show it in the flat. You can show it with the background kind of grayed out and your harness in solid, showing installation help. There's a lot of things you can do. Let's go to just manipulate the view a little bit here. I'm going to say thick and say OK. So there I have that up in the top right-hand corner. Next thing I want to do is I want to add my flat drawing model to the drawing. So I'm going to say Add Model. Let's go to In Session. And I'm going to use that flat harness right there. Let me go ahead and insert that view, insert a general view. And I'm just going to do front. Right? And I might scale it up a little bit to make it look nice. All right? Now, let's show all of the ways that we can actually get information out of this. First thing I want to do is I want to change the visibility to be a little bit better. Say no hidden and solid and thick. So let's get that done. All right? All right. Next, we can start extracting information from this very, very easy. I'm simply going to pick on that view and right-click and select Show Model Annotations. And what I want to do is go on this tab and show all of the notes that, and these are my reference designators that are logical and live to the schematic. So with one click, I've actually turned on my live designators, and they are parametric to the diagram itself. All right, next, what we're going to do is let's get a bill of material on this thing so we automatically populate that. I'm going to go to Table and say Table from File. I'm going to pick a Harn-Baum table, place that, go to Create a Balloon, Create Balloons by View. Let's see, Create Balloons by View. Nope, have the wrong one. Doesn't have a live repeat region. Hang on. Let's do the the con pinout. Sorry. Let's pick this. Go to repeat region. Say model rep, and you can actually read in the information directly from the connector. And this is done at this phase where the person on the manufacturing floor is doing the actual pinout and needs to know at that connector what is required and what pin. So what we have here is the pin, the conductor, and possibly the color of the wire and what pin it's going to. So automatic extraction of pin and connector information at your fingertips, and you can do that for each one. All right. Additionally, we can do a complete Harn from to wireless, which usually is placed on the second sheet, but let's take a peek at what that did. Automatically extracts the name of the conductor or wire or cable conductor, the from connector, the from pin, and the to con and the to pin. The spool name, the color, and the length. You can also add a ton of more information here. It's completely customizable. You can add in descriptions. You can do relations that roll your wire cut length up to the nearest ½ inch, etc. All right. And let's see what else we can do here. We have a, let's see, we have a spool bill of material. This is a complete cut length chart that basically says this is the type of wire, or you could also possibly put in here the manufacturer name or part number, and so the person on the floor can cut and basically kit this cable up prior to it going to the bench. So we have the color of the wire, the length. Again, you can put more information in here and customize it. It's all parameters that can be extracted from the cable. All right, and one more time here, Harn Baum. I'm going to put that here by view. I'm going to pick the view, and you get all your balloons turned on automatically for free to your bill of material. And this greatly speeds up the production and design process of the harness itself. Again, every company has a slightly different flavor and a slightly different requirements for the way they want their flat harnesses done. There's all kinds of different styles, and you know, some companies have the first sheet is about cut and prep, the second sheet is about assemble, and the third sheet is about installation on their machine. That kind of flow. You can do a lot of different types of stuff with this. So let's recap real quick, and then we'll open it up for discussion. From the schematic, which I defined all of the connector part numbers, the wire and cable part numbers based on my electrical design process and my requirements. From there, I sent it over to Pro Cabling, and I routed that cable in 3D using the information that I had established in the diagram. We took that model, we flattened it out on a nail board view so that we'd have a nail board view of the actual harness itself, the detail. And then finally, we went to the detail mode where we detailed it out. And of course, you can also do dimensions in here and breakouts and anything else that you're looking for. I mean, this is a very quick cursory glance at this stuff, but I've done some setups for companies that are very detailed in the way that they want their harness extraction. You know, means that you don't have to enter in any of these tables, and it's all automatic, and you can rely on the fact that it's parametric. That in and of itself strips out a lot of the time and bleed out to the harness process. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up for questions at this time. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm looking in my thing here, Jason. I don't know if you
yeah, there's about 4 questions so far. You want me to go ahead and read them off to you and you can answer them?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that?
All right, Adam asks, if they have piping and cabling, is everything shown today available in the package?
If they have piping and cabling, now this may be more of a sales question, but I believe if you buy the routed systems option, now again, I could be out of my
Yeah, it comes with RSD Lite.
Right, it comes with Lite, and I believe you can upgrade Lite to full, but you have to ask yourself if you need full or not. If you go into 2 or 3 different users, you might want to look at 3 are full. RSD Lite, the capabilities they're online. You can look them up, the difference between light and full, but I'll give you the highlights. I don't believe you can import DWG files or something like that, or export DWG files. It has a maximum of 10 sheets each design. You can't send out bits of the design. Like I can't send out full sheets from one user to another and merge designs. I also don't think you can manage it in Windchill if it's light, but I may be mistaken about that. I got to be careful. I don't know for sure. But yeah, so that's some highlights.
The next question: what PCB programs would this work with?
What PTC programs would this?
What PCB programs?
Oh, I understand. Right. Well, right now PTC has, I think, 2 or 3 good partners in this. The big 3 were, I think it's Allegro is one. Is it OrCAD's another? But I know they're working on a 3rd one. I'm just not sure about that. Is there a way for you to ask the user
All team was the one he was wondering about.
Ah, yes. Well, that was the one that they were working with last time I checked. Now, it's been a little while. We can certainly open up a call to PTC to find out if they have a general export. Now, understand that this isn't like the ECAD situation. This is just netboard data. So you should be able to export a standard file type. Now, if I'm in Schematics and I say File, Import, PCB Net Data, you would go look for, I forget the file extension that it is, and I would have to do some more digging on that. But I did it at my last company. It's just been a little while. We didn't do it in full-blown implementation yet, but I was successful in bringing in. They have something called, what is the name of that? I'll have to look it up, but they have an object that you can bring in that basically brings all the connector information in, and you can actually establish that in Excel. So what you could do is use this specific template that PTC gives you to read in your signal data, and just make sure that you copy and paste it from the other data. But there should be a file that is seamless to both. So, yeah.
Next one says if they don't currently own the program and they buy it, where would they get all the various sets of data on cables and connectors?
Perfect. That's a really good question. So there's a couple of people on the market that supply it, but of course I'm actually an expert at customizing that for you. It's not too hard, but based on your customer requirements, we can you could purchase a light library from us. We actually have something called a startup pack, an electrical startup pack, which gives you basically a good solid start design. Included in that, we bring in your drawing template, your drawing formats to get it all set up to your requirements. We look at the library that you either have or don't. We bring that in for you, and we set up the data for you. Now, there's a charge associated with that, but we can definitely. That's what we do. I'm an expert in that, so that's something that we would offer.
All right, can Pro Cabling do a wire twist yet?
Can it do a wire twist? Well, it certainly can twist. It's been able to do it for a long time. Let's see if I can get it in here. So if you're doing a wire twist, so if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is can it rotate? Yes, it certainly can. Let's go. Come on, view, activate. Where are you? There we go. Locations. There we go. All right. So yes, you can take the actual property, and you can say the angle is going to be 85 degrees, and say OK. And when you regenerate, it will twist it for you. It twists it around. You can have a whole bundle of things that actually twist along as you go. Kind of like that. I guess that's the best twist they're going to get. They also do both. So one thing about cabling is they do flat ribbon cables now. You can route cabling without any schematics. You can actually just create a cable, create a spool, and start routing a harness. It's not hard. It's super easy to do. And with their new interface, with their route tool, picture this not having. I can basically create a wire right here. And just I can create cables in here if I want, and if there's no logical data read in, it will ask you to make a quick spool. You just tell it it's orange, it's 0.06 thick, it's whatever, and my minimum end is this, and it's actually in there. You can create all your spools ahead of time and then read them in to your tree and then go to work doing your cable. So there's lots of ways to do it without schematics if you don't want to. If you're just a mechanical designer and want to do something small, you can do that too.
How does this work with piping to create hoses?
To create, one more time, hoses?
How does it work with piping to create hoses?
Okay, well, first of all, piping is a different module. That is I think what they're asking me is how does Creo Schematics work with piping to create hoses, if I'm correct. Okay. Well, what that is we, in a nutshell, you have a P&ID. In fact, let me actually kind of pull up a quick example. We have a few minutes here. Just take me 1 second. I'll close. No. I'm going to go ahead and say open, and I'm going to open another one called a piping demo that I do. And what you're going to see here is this is a layout of a live pipe design that will route spec-driven piping in Pro piping. Now, what you do for hoses is very, very simple. What you do is you create a spec. Now, if I select one of these and say select parent, which is the overall pipeline, and go to properties, I would normally apply a data set from my list of specs that I would create. Well, there's a spec in Pro piping called flexible that you can create, and you can do flexible hoses, and it is very, very easy to do. So my answer to him would be do a light spec-driven setup on the piping side, which, by the way, we also specialize in. I do a lot of this stuff, especially for like Australia and oil and gas industry and all kinds of stuff. But one of them is flexible tubes that a lot of people like. We can route square pipes for ducting, flexible hoses and tubing, heavy-duty 12-inch pipes with reducers and valves and equipment, all kinds of different flavors of the piping industry. But the easy way to do it would be to basically, what I'm doing on the schematic side is I'm calling a spec here. You see this, it says it's spec. Well, that spec is actually being called on the Pro piping side, and there's some config settings, and there's a little bit of an implementation, but it is in the help files if you dig around, but it's not too hard to do. You basically establish your hose spool, which will have a thickness, an OD, and you set the spec to a little option called flexible, and you're able to route that flexible right from a P&ID.
All right, can we take a look at the database and show how to import the database into Creo Schematics?
Sure. Which database are we referring to?
The CSV?
Yes, no problem. Right here, what I have is in, let's go to this particular one. It's in Admin, and it's in Data Table Explorer. And what I have here is I have some stuff that's been set up. So, for instance, this is a spec. If I was, and it's the same thing for a connector, a wire, a cable. It's the same process. You basically would say re-import, and you import that from your folder that you would have, and I don't know where my specs folder is, here somewhere. I think I might have moved it, sorry, when I was setting stuff up. Yeah. So I could open up the other design, but it's the same thing. For instance, I have a set of reducers in here. Reducers, so what I want to do is if I'm adding a new reducer, the data tables are managed in various programs. You can do it in Excel and CSV format, okay? You can do it that way. I offer a program called RS Deluxe, which enables you to manage all of your data and export it to the drive, and it's built, it's a data table builder. So what it is it's specifically built to work with that data on a regular basis. And if you guys want a demonstration of that, just give me a shout, give me a call, we'll run through it. It's pretty easy to do. It's a nice little program. You can purchase it and build your data. By the way, RS Deluxe, quick plug, also does all of the spec-driven piping building for you if you guys are doing spec-driven piping out there. It could be a little bit more complex, but it's really powerful for the general industry.
All right, can it place wire tie locations?
Wire tie locations, absolutely it can. Let's do that real quick. Get to the right thing here. So, Pro cabling allows you to assemble in ties or create it on the fly. So what I can do is there is a cosmetic creation that you can create, and I have to just remember where that is real quick. Cable parameters, here it is. Marker, you can do marker, tie wrap, and tape. So let's do a tie wrap. I'm going to call that 1 and create, or 1, okay, sorry. Nope, I didn't want that. I want a, where is my cabling? I got to remember where it went. It went under somewhere. I haven't used that in a while because, so there's two ways to create tie wraps. You can assemble them in manually, or you can actually create there it is, tie wrap, sorry. And I'm going to pick right here, and if you go solid, you can see it right there. Or what you could do is you could say component, and you can assemble in a component to your cable and assemble it to a location point and have it that way as well. There's pros and cons about doing a cosmetic like this. It does not add any weight or any physical parameter, weight to your harness if you do cosmetic. If you assemble in your own models, you can do them in family tables and assemble them where you want. Most people don't create them, and honestly what they do is they call them out in the drawing every 2 inches standard or something like that.
All right, in schematic, how do you reassign a wire to a different pin, and how do you transfer that to design assembly?
Sure, no problem. So you're saying that there's a rewire. What you would do, that's a very interesting question. I thought that might come up. So we have a scenario like where we have it here, where we have a switch, and the wires have been wired incorrectly. So what I'm going to do is go into my schematic, go into my switch, and I'm going to rewire that. So I'm going to pull it off and pull it over here. And I'm going to send this back over. All right, let's go ahead and send that information over again. I'm going to import that information. Whoops, wrong one. Say done. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do an update, and there's going to be some stuff that it's changed. The second thing I would do, a compare. And on that compare, it actually shows you that the wires for this switch are now no longer matched. So there is eyes into the logical and the physical linking up of the information. I'm going to say close there, quit, and regenerate. Now you'll notice that it didn't rewire itself. So typically what we would do is we do a quick trim back and then an auto reroute. So I can say route, delete cable portion. Okay, now I'm going to say route. Here, let me cancel that. Cancel. Yeah. Say route, search. Say yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, cancel. Cancel. Trying to figure out what it's doing to me here. It's